Hi, my name's Dr. Hayley Trower and I'm a sobriety and wellness coach with a PhD in psychology, and I blend science and soul to help people to quit drinking so that they can create a fulfilling life that they love. In today's video, I want to share with you the secret to staying alcohol free in the long term. If you like this video and you feel like you gained something, please hit like and please subscribe because it helps me to reach more people like you. Being alcohol free for a short while is one thing, but keeping it up past a few weeks or past a few months is much harder because we can't rely on willpower forever. We need to rely on other kinds of skills and shifts in our thinking and our perception around alcohol. So how do you stay alcohol free in the long term? I'd like to share with you 3 things that will help you. The first one is to accept that you might relapse. Acceptance of this is really important because often we might relapse and then beat ourselves up and then give up and not persevere. But actually relapsing is often a part of the process and it's often an inevitable part. So when you're trying to change a habit, you're working on a new muscle, you're building a new muscle, and it takes time to build that muscle. So when you relapse, when you fall off the wagon, you're not just losing that muscle that you've built. It stays strong, it stays there as long as you pick yourself back up quite quickly. So when you quit drinking for the second time, then you're not starting from the beginning, you're starting from where you left off when you relapsed before. So I love using the analogy of training for a half marathon or a 10K. So you know you're training for this goal and you have your set training runs in the week, and you build your endurance over time and you build your strength and your speed over time. If you miss one of those runs, you don't just relapse back to right to the beginning of that training schedule. You pick up where you left off the day before. So in that sense, you're not losing any of your strength, your speed or your endurance. You're just carrying on. All that happened was that you missed a day. So relapsing is often part of the process. You're venturing into the unknown. There's lots of unknowns. You're trying things that you've not tried before, and so it's not going to be perfect the first time. If you're beating yourself up as well, the opportunity to learn is much harder. Whereas if you can be kind to yourself and accepting of what's happened, then the opportunity to learn is much greater. And you can say to yourself, okay, why did I relapse this time? What can I do different next time? And you can learn from the process. The second secret to staying alcohol-free long-term is self-compassion. Self-compassion is hugely important when it comes to staying alcohol-free and making the right decisions for yourself. It's much easier to make the right healthy decisions when you feel high levels of self-compassion compared to if you don't feel very high levels of self-compassion. And this has been found in lots of research as well. So I did a quick Google Scholar search earlier today and I found half a dozen articles on the role that self-compassion plays in the prevention of relapse in alcohol and substance use. So for example, I'm just going to read a few out. In 2021, a PhD dissertation was published and it's called Self-Efficacy, Trait Mindfulness and Self-Compassion as Predictors of Risk of Substance Use Relapse. So self-efficacy is the belief that we have in ourselves. If you have high self-efficacy, you believe that you can do things, do hard things, you can achieve goals and learn skills. Trait mindfulness is an inherent level of mindfulness. So it's not about learned mindfulness, it's inherent in your personality. So if you're naturally mindful, this is what this dissertation is referring to. And self-compassion. So this dissertation has shown that self-efficacy, trait mindfulness, and self-compassion are all predictors of lower risk of substance use relapse. So that's one. The second one is a journal article in the journal called Drug and Alcohol Dependence, and it's called The Relationship Between Self-Compassion and the Risk for Substance Use Disorder. And these authors found that people who rated as having the highest levels of self-compassion had the lowest risk for substance use disorder, whereas people who had the lowest ratings of self-compassion had the highest risk of substance use disorder. And just another one. This one is called A Longitudinal Investigation on the Relation Between Self-Compassion and Alcohol Use in a Treatment Sample, a Brief Report. And this was published in 2020. And they looked at some specific facets of self-compassion, which were self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. And they found that the mindfulness facet of self-compassion was associated with decreased alcohol use over time. So that's just a quick snippet into the role of self-compassion when it comes to relapse prevention. So how can we increase our levels of self-compassion? Well, one way in which we can do it is to become more mindful of our self-talk. So if you're going about your day, just see if you can catch your self-talk that's going on in your mind. So if you talk about yourself in your mind and you say, I am so bad at this, or I am weak, or I can't do this, how about trying to change that into something that's more positive and something that's more helpful for you? So I am strong, I am powerful, I am proud of myself because I've achieved so much. Try and be more positive. So every time you have a kind of self-downing, self-talk thought, counteract it with a positive self-thought, if that makes sense. A positive thought about yourself. And that's one way in which you can increase your self-compassion, because our belief systems stem from our thoughts. So if we can change our thoughts over time, we can change our belief systems. The third thing is exercise. You might be surprised to hear this one, that exercise can really help you to stay sober in the long term for so many reasons. It's about connecting the mind with the body. So exercise provides pleasurable states without the use of alcohol. And this is even true for people who have severe alcohol use disorder and find it very hard to find pleasure without alcohol. So exercise has been found to instill pleasure in people, even with the severest alcohol use disorder problems. So exercise brings about dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, happy, feel-good chemicals in the brain and body. It reduces depressive symptoms and negative mood for those same reasons, because it releases those happy, feel-good chemicals, and it decreases the levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It increases self-efficacy. Again, this is the belief in yourself, the belief that you can achieve hard things or achieve goals. So if you set a goal like I'm going to run 3 miles or 6 miles and you achieve it, then you translate that feeling about yourself, that sense of self-worth, into other aspects of your life. It provides positive alternatives to drinking, and this is absolutely true because it creates structure in our lives. So if you've quit drinking and you don't have many other things to do, you might feel an urge to drink. So exercise replaces that spare time. It gives structure, it's sociable as well. You can go out and do it, you can plan it into your week. It also decreases stress reactivity, it improves coping, and it decreases urges to drink. And these are all points that are backed by science. So all of these positive outcomes from exercise are not just coincidence. We are born to move, we are born to run, we are born to exercise. It's really, really important for the health of our brain and body, and for the connection between the brain and the body. Exercise even triggers something called neurogenesis, which is the process of the formation of new neurons in the adult brain, which is incredible. So essentially, exercise makes us cleverer, you know, it enhances the brain. And exercise also reduces inflammation in the body, so it makes us healthier. It connects with the gut. There was a recent study that Dr. B released a couple of weeks ago. He's the author of Fibre Fueled, and he does lots of research into the gut-brain axis. And he found that exercise, it does something to the gut which reduces inflammation in the body. And so this is absolutely vital if we want to maintain our health after we've experienced challenging alcohol drinking behaviours, essentially. So those three aspects: accept that you might relapse, self-compassion and exercise are the secrets to staying sober in the long term. I hope you found this useful. Please let me know if you had any aha moments in the comments below.